growing. We're in the greenhouse this morning. It's actually really warm in here because it's a nice sunny day outside. I'm going to run through some cool plants we've got in the greenhouse that you can use in your garden, in your containers, even as house plants in some cases. So I'm just going to look at a few different things we've got kicking around here. First one I'm going to show you is a begonia. We talked about begonias a couple of weeks ago. This is one that I really love. In the tropic areas, they use it as a shrub, as a tropical shrub in the garden. For us, it's an all-summer blooming container plant. It's Begonia odorata alba. It'll make a 3-foot shrub quite easily. Clusters of white flowers produced all summer long, and they have a light fragrance to them, which is really quite lovely. It's easy plant, easy to keep as a house plant afterwards. It'll even bloom through the year in the house. It's Begonia odorata alba. Great easy one for the begonia collector. Another plant that I really love, and I had lost it for a while, but I got it back, is this guy. This is Euphorbia catinifolia, or the euphorbia that looks like a smoke bush. And you would swear that that was a smoke bush any day of the week. The foliage looked exactly like smoke bush, same rounded shape, same red color, but it actually is a euphorbia. Very fast-growing shrub. These will get 4 feet tall easily this year. And a really great, interesting upright for containers and things that will have people guess what you've been using in the containers. But easy to keep over through the winter, but a really unusual and a bit unique centerpiece for bigger containers. Euphorbia catinifolia. Another big one that I just saw it many years ago in a garden in California. Lusted after it for many years. Finally got it, and I'm just thrilled about it, is this big giant guy over my head. Now, I'll grab these together here, and maybe Laura can zoom in on the flower. You can see the top of the flowers, Laura?
Yep.
From where you are there?
Yep.
I'm going to bring them down close to the camera so you can get a good look at the flower. This is a really neat salvia relative called Brilliantasia. Now, don't be afraid that these are 8 feet tall. It was a bit of an experiment. I grew them outside in containers last year for the first time, so I really wanted to see what they would do. And they were great. They bloomed for most of the summer. And then these are 2 particular plants that started to grow like crazy. So I just let them grow and grow to see sort of what would happen. So they spent the winter indoors, and then a couple of weeks ago started to put on some new growth and set flower buds. Now the neat thing about these, even though they're this tall, if you look down the stems here, we've got our spikes, and then literally every side shoot that is coming out has flower spikes on it. So you don't need to let them grow this big to flower. In fact, here's our cuttings off these plants, and they are coming into bloom as well. And they will bloom for weeks and weeks and weeks with these spikes of wonderful big blue salvia-like flowers. So that's Brilliantasia. A very cool plant. Like I said, it was one that I'd wanted for years, finally got it, and here it is. Another plant that makes a neat upright for containers, or in the water garden even, is this guy. First time I saw this plant, a friend said, "I'm bringing you a new plant. You'll really love it." And he got out of the car and he's walking towards me with this plant, and I'm going, why is he bringing me a Japanese maple? Turns out, not a Japanese maple at all. It's a hibiscus. Hibiscus acetosella. What we use it for, beautiful upright shrub, extremely fast growing, so a container shrub. Wonderful foliage. I mean, look at that foliage. It's gorgeous color, interesting shape, burgundy all season long. When it blooms in the winter. So if you bring it indoors for the winter, you get little maroon flowers that are the same color as the leaves, and actually not very exciting. But we use this in big containers. You can also use it in the water garden and actually pot it and put it right in your pond for the summer, and it just loves it. It's exceptionally fast growing. These will make 6-foot plants by the end of the season. So it's another great one for your upright plant in container. Hibiscus mahogany splendor. Now as we move along, another plant that I found a couple of years ago and was just thrilled about it. These are still a little young, so they're not too exciting. But this is a wonderful foliage plant. Green, it'll get burgundy, it'll get pink and white tints all through it. This is Gossypium. And what is Gossypium? It's a hibiscus relative, but it is cotton. So actually cotton that you can make clothing out of and weave. This will get big pink hibiscus flowers midsummer that turn into balls of cotton. But from a foliage plant, it's a wonderful mid-height, maybe 18-inch plant for containers with wonderful multicolored foliage. And the neat thing about, you can say to all your friends, hey, let's grow some cotton in the garden. There we go. It's a cool plant. Another one over here. Another plant I really love to use in containers, to grow as a house plant, is the variegated shrimp plant, or Justicia brandigiana. You can see the flowers have these neat bracts that overlap and really look like a shrimp, and then they shoot out these little white flowers that look sort of like the tail of the shrimp. It's very old-fashioned sort of novelty house plant, but the variegated form is outstanding with wonderful dusted foliage, and then these shrimps really, really show up well on the variegated foliage. So it's Justicia brandigiana, probably get about 2 feet or so, and blooms literally year-round. So you bring it in for the winter, and it'll just keep producing these wonderful shrimps all winter long. Really fun plant. Another one that we're seeing a lot of use now in containers is the jungle bananas, the ensetes. So there's 2 different types of bananas out there. There's the Musa and the ensete. What's the difference? Musa grows a pseudo-stem, so the trunk of a Musa and then an umbrella of leaves. Ensete actually just keeps sprouting its leaves from a very, very short, I guess pseudo-stem is there, but it's very, very short, and the leaves shoot up from a low point and get very long. These grow amazingly fast. These plants here are only about 6 weeks old, and every week they'll add a new leaf, and the next leaf gets bigger than the one before. So you'll get up to a plant, if you turn the camera just to her right, maybe I can turn it for you, you'll see, here is our last year's ensetes waiting to go into containers again for this spring to get a head start. But they grew to that size from this size in about 2 months, maybe 2.5 months. So extremely fast growing, a wonderful tropical look for your containers. Now if we dip down here, Laura, I'm going to look at this plant here. This is a salvia, was introduced a couple of years ago. And if you've been enjoying salvias in your containers, you'll know that Salvia garnitica is a wonderful, big, tall, extremely easy blooming salvia for your garden or containers, but they generally do get big. Breeders have been working, they've been bringing the height of these Salvia garniticas down to more manageable sizes, so we're seeing varieties like Rhythm and Blues, Smoky Jazz, Proven Winners has a couple of selections as well. But this one is really groundbreaking in the garniticas. And you can see by the way the habit is, this is in a big pot, but look at the way it's trailing. This is how it grows. This is Salvia garnitica Hummingbird Falls. Has that same vivid purple with black calyxes that Salvia garniticas are famous for, but it only gets about 18 inches tall and then will spread to 3 feet. Blooms all summer long, and hummingbirds really love these salvias. They go crazy for them. So watch for that one. It's another one. It's a bit more available now than it was. Salvia garnitica Hummingbird Falls. Great for big containers spilling over or your big hanging baskets. Now, it would have to be a big hanging basket. This is one plant from last year, and you can see how big it is. So they make big plants. So if you've got big baskets, big containers, an absolute winner for those big situations. You can probably show. Do we have any questions popping up, Laura, there?
No questions, Jeff. But hey, Jeff, what's that plant beside you with the really interesting bronze foliage?
Here?
Yeah.
So this is another interesting tropical shrub. You see it a lot if you go to Florida, Hawaii. They use it as a garden shrub. This is Acalefa. Acalefa sometimes has a bunch of common names. I can't think of them. Really great foliage plants, again, much like the couple that we've been talking about. Acalefas have nothing, well, these Acalefas are interesting, have nothing going for them in the flower department. That's the flowers there. Pretty useless. But a lot of Acalefas have nice flowers. Think of Love Lies Bleeding, things like that. The chenille plant, they all have attractive flowers. Acalefa wilksiana, tropical shrub with wonderful foliage. Loves the heat. The hotter the summer, the better it gets. Just keeps getting nicer and nicer and nicer as the season goes on. I'm going to nip around to the other side of the table here. I don't know if you could do a little quick turn there, Laura.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump back into a couple of plants back here. This is one plant, again, that I lusted over for years. Finally became available in the trade. This is an Artemisia. Artemisia mauiensis. One of the few native plants of Hawaii. But I just love it for this amazing ferny silver foliage. We know Artemisias. We grow them in the garden. They're fairly common plants in herb gardens and things like that. But this one is an amazing ferny foliage plant. It's called Macana Silver. Just a great, great foliage accent. When you're using big, bold foliage, like, you know, you get into this, you get into a big leaf, and that ferniness, you can just see it there, Laura, a little bit. Mm-hmm. That ferniness in that leaf just softens great, big, bold foliage. So consider that one as a great sort of delicate filler for your hot, sunny containers. Artemisia Macana Silver. And another one that doesn't get used a lot here, but boy, when you go to England, these are small ones, when you go to England, you see this plant used all the time. This is a, it's going to escape me all of a sudden, right? It's right in the middle. This is Persicaria Red Dragon. Persicarias we know Persicaria Firetail, things like that. as great garden plants. Persicaria Red Dragon, for us anyway, is sort of borderline hardy. It's almost fully winter hardy, but it's better used as a container plant. And it's just a wonderful foliage leaf. These older leaves are green, and these have been shaded, so they're green with the great zones. But new growth, and if they're in the sun, this wonderful burgundy with the dark purple and silver zone is an amazing foliage plant. And I couldn't get over the last time we were in England. Everywhere uses this. Great Dixter uses this in containers all the time. We saw in gardens there. It's just a great, easygoing foliage accent. It's got a bit of a tropical look to it. You throw it in with the bananas and things, and it can really look good as a tropical sort of accent.
Put it up against that leaf again?
Yeah, it just has a nice look, and it picks up the color hints and things like the bananas and, you know, maybe the hibiscus and stuff like that. Just a really great foliage plant. Persicaria Red Dragon. I'll see if I can find... Oh yeah, I got this little guy over here. But this is one I really love. Mom thinks it's kind of creepy. This is Homolocladium platycladum. Very, very unusual plant because the stems are like flattened, paper-thin stems with small leaves coming off them. And it just makes a plant, just builds on this, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Homolocladium platycladum. Common name is tapeworm plant, or Mom gets creeped out by that one. She didn't like the name tapeworm plant, but I think it's a great foliage, again, foliage upright plant for containers in sort of semi-shade. I don't think it wants to have full hot sun, but a great, unusual upright for containers. Homolocladium. All right, we probably got time for maybe one or two more, Laura, I think. Let's see what we got.
Hey, Jeff?
Yes.
We're talking about making a striking statement in a planter, the one by your elbow there, the Senecio.
This one? Are we on? All right, sorry about that technical glitch there. Phone was in the sun and the greenhouse got too hot, shut itself off. So we're going to do a few things out here. We'll finish up. Another plant that everybody loves when they see it are the anagoxanthus, or kangaroo paws. You can see why they call them kangaroo paws, because they got these wonderful, fuzzy little foot-like flower buds that open to a neat little star-shaped flower. It's an Australian native, has an iris sort of look, but blooms all summer long with these neat, very unusual flowers. But what do you expect from an Australian native? Another plant that I've been really getting into the last couple of years are the alströmerias, and they are fantastic container plants, particularly the Inca series. We're seeing a lot of these available now. This is Inca Husky. Let's find a nice fresh flower cluster here. This one looks pretty decent. Really amazing flowers. Alströmerias you see in cut flower arrangements a lot, but these are ones you can grow in containers in the garden. Once they start blooming, usually about late spring, early summer, they will continue to bloom the rest of the season through. Really exotic looking flowers. And these Inca series are fairly short, so this is about the height they get. So a great sort of low mounding plant for container edges and things. The place that we're going to end with the grasses. I love ornamental grasses in the garden, and there are some fantastic ones for containers that should be used a lot more. We always see purple fountain grass, and purple fountain grass is beautiful. It's got that dark purple leaf, fuzzy pink flower heads, but there's a lot of other grasses that work really, really well in containers. This one here, this is Pennisetum. I'm going to blank on the cultivar at the moment, but it's the gold leaf pennisetum. Gets a big, fuzzy, black flower spike out of it. Really, really amazing. And great foliage contrast. Like, look at the color of that foliage. Imagine that in with, you know, the purples of like the hibiscus we were looking at, or the purples of the bananas and that sort of thing. It's just a wonderful combination when you get it in there with those colors, right? This looks great and looks nice all season long. Another one that I think is one of my favorite plants for containers is palm grass, Ceteria palmifolia. You can see its habit right now, even as a small plant. This will get sort of 3 feet across, 2 feet tall this season, and it has these wonderful pleated leaves. Really, really attractive foliage and a texture that you just want to reach out and touch them. Great sort of edger for containers, big containers. Great sort of spiller over. And again, softens those big, bold foliage plants that you might be using in containers. Ceteria palmifolia. And then we move into the sedges. One of my favorite plants, Carex buchananii, has that wonderful coppery color all the time on a very upright grass. I love to mingle these in with plants that will send their flowers sort of through. I've done some neat containers with using crocosmias, sort of sticking its flowers out through, and anything that'll just sort of arch its flowers in and around the Carexes are awesome. You can get that copper tone in a short one. This is Bronco, or Carex Comans Bronze. Gives us a nice low frothy edger with the copper foliage. If you want to get away from the copper but use that same texture, Carex Amazon Mist. It's a beautiful green silver sedge, and just, you know, every breeze makes these move, and the texture and the movement of them is just wonderful in containers. That's Carex Amazon Mist. And then the one that we've used quite a bit, and we use it a lot every year. These are still young, so you don't quite see the full look. This is Carex Toffee Twist. If you've looked back at past videos, we use this in our summer containers, and then we take the summer stuff out, except for this, and use this in our fall containers because it stays alive into December. And then we've actually even taken our fall stuff out, left this in for the winter because it still looks like a great mounding copper clump all winter long. In fact, even when they're dead in the spring, they still look good. So this is Toffee Twist Carex. You get a lot of mileage out of these in your containers, and I just love them. I love the color of these. I love the texture that they bring to containers. You can't get that textural element with any other plant in your containers other than the sedges and some of the grasses. So they're really excellent filler and finisher plants for your containers. I think we'll leave it up there. We've looked at a bunch of really cool stuff. If you want to come and see it live, we're here Friday, May 19th, and tomorrow, Monday, May 20th, from 10 to 2. Then we'll be away for a week, and then we'll have some open days when we get back from our Chelsea Flower Show trip right after the 29th of May. So,
all right. So people should watch your Instagram while you're away?
Follow the Instagram. We will Instagram our trip with daily updates. If we can slip in some video clips with Paul Zamet and myself through some of the gardens we're in, we will do that. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. It depends how busy the gardens are. But follow us on Instagram and Facebook as well, and you'll get updates of our trip. And then we'll be back in 2 weeks with another Let's Get Growing.